Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Ruff. I'm coming to you today, and we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff today. But I got to start off by telling you I was wrong. When I looked back at what we were talking about, we made some videos about 2 years ago, and I was sure that the government would never be able to raise the rates as fast as they did. Why? In 2019, in the fall of 2019, we had something called the repo market that almost exploded because we had tried to raise rates 0.25%. When we were trying to raise the rates that 0.25%, their overnight bank-to-bank lending that they do almost collapsed. So I thought there was no way that we could possibly get to this point. In addition, with all this extra debt, I did not ever believe that they could do this. But this is the cards we're dealt. This is what we're dealing with. For you guys who don't know what the repo market is, remember, we go to the bank kind of like 9 to 5 thing, right? So 9 to 5 is normal banking hours, but banks are operating 24 hours a day, and they are trading money back and forth through the night. They're repo markets. Now, the banks have to make sure that this is going to stay open. We need the banks to keep lending. So instead of letting the market dictate the rates, like that night, the rates, I think, went up to 10%. And if the government didn't come in and inject, I think it was $10 billion overnight, the entire market would have collapsed. So when we add so much debt through the health crisis, we are wondering how on earth could they even think about raising rates? Because with the new government debts that are now so ballooned huge, how on earth would they ever manage it? And the unthinkable happened. I did not think there's any possibility that they would be able to do this, but here we are. Absolutely crazy. So this comes to some very important stuff. There are no certainties in life. There's only probabilities, and we have to play the probabilities of the proper way, right? So if you go out to work in the morning, you could obviously go out to work and make $100 and then come home. But we could also go to gamble at a casino and bet there. Now, why do most people not go to the casino? Because the odds are not in your favor. What about going to work? Well, are the odds in your favor? You would say yes, but if you got hit by a bus, the odds weren't in your favor. So we're always just trying to take in information as humans and trying to make the best choices for ourselves. And this is where we always have to adapt to that situation. I wish I was an oracle and had a crystal ball. I wish I could. And we could see where the rates are going to go, but we never know. And this is why our battle plans have to change on the fly. As the government is changing what they're doing, you and I got to be able to adapt really, really quickly. So what happened this week is we saw yesterday, Tuesday, the markets like bloodbath everywhere. So why did the markets go down so bad? It's because the core inflation went way up. The consumer price inflation index came out, and it's very, very high. So here we are, we're having higher inflation. But normally, if we keep raising rates, it'll tamper down demand and it will slow inflation. This doesn't seem to be working. So what does that mean? That means that they'll probably have to keep raising rates more than expected and longer than expected. So for all those people who are hanging out waiting for a Fed pivot, meaning that they're going to slow down or not raise rates anymore, or that they're going to perhaps slow down and go backwards and start reversing again, that doesn't look like it's going to happen, especially with inflation going up. And after watching some of the videos that we did together when we're watching Jerome Powell in Wyoming. So let's jump into some of that other stuff, a couple articles from today, but we're into some crazy town territory here. And so now that the CPI index is high in the United States, that means that they next week almost guaranteed will be raising rates 0.75% or even 1% with such a high reading. And 92% of the time, Canada is going to follow suit. So watching that CPI number come in, which was this week, will impact what Canada is going to do 7 weeks from now. Do you know what I mean? So we got to always pay attention to that. So we know now what is going to happen most likely. This is where we have to pay attention. So let's jump in. So You guys, this first article that I want to share with you, please take a look at the screen. If you guys want to follow along with me, you can do so on the screen. We put this up on YouTube as well, so it takes a couple days to go look at that afterward. But if you go look at the website called Business Insider, so the article says legendary investor Mark Mobius said the Fed will hike interest rates as high as 9% if inflation stays strong. 9%. Okay, so we really have to take that with a grain of salt, okay? It is a little bit strong, I would say. This is not a clickbaity channel, but I'm saying that all time. Remember, inflation means you're losing money. If you had a $100 bill and it loses 10%, it now has the same purchasing power of $90. You've lost 10%. So if you had to go buy bread for $100, next year you'll buy 10% less bread with the same bill. Okay. But then that's 10% down. But say that you could put it in a bank and make 5% up. I need you to do that math with me, because when you put your money in the bank, you get 5% interest, but the dollar has lost 10%. That means you're down 5%. You follow me? You're still losing money on the whole deal by lending the government money for a bond or a treasury or whatever it is. So this is the game back and forth. So why would you go and invest your money in a treasury that yields 3% when core inflation is saying that it's 9 and real inflation is sitting at 15? So no matter how you look at that, you're still losing money. And that's the problem. The way the inflation numbers are, it's really, really high. So how do we beat inflation? The interest rates have to be above inflation. So if inflation is 5%, you would need an interest rate of like 7. If you had inflation at 10%, you would need your interest rate to be 12. If your inflation number is 1%, then you would only need to have like a 2 or 3% mortgage rate. Do you know what I mean? It always has to be greater. It has to cost you money to borrow money, right? That is how it normally works. So this is what he is saying in this article. Let's take a look at there. He says that it could raise it as high as 9%. He said the Fed has to raise interest rates higher than inflation in order to kill inflation. And that's what we were saying. You know, it always has to be a little bit above. So the Federal Reserve could hike interest rates as high as 9%, he says. A famed investor told Bloomberg TV on Wednesday that because inflation has remained persistently high, the Fed has to raise interest rates higher than inflation in order to kill inflation. This is not a revelationary, comment. This is the way that math works. You have to have the interest rate above. That's always how it is. So whenever you're behind that, this is called negative yielding rates. What does negative yielding rates mean? That means that imagine that the interest rate is 1%, but your debts are diluting by 10% per year. So this is what happened forever, okay? Absolutely forever. We saw that the interest rates on mortgages were 1%, but then everybody's homes were going up 19% per year. So he pays 1% in mortgage and he still makes 19%. He's still making a ton of money. Inflation helps pump the price of your home and reduces how much your mortgage is, which is how so many people have made so much money in real estate lately. So let's jump into our next article of the day, ladies and gentlemen. So the next one I wanted to show you was the Financial Post article. So the dollar is in trouble, right? This is the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar, the euro. They're all in some serious trouble. Okay, so this one right here is what are they planning to do about it? We know the United States is ready to roll out the exact rails on their digital currency starting next year. The Bank of Canada has a team working on the digital dollar. This is from the Financial Post. It says a team roughly of 15 people are developing the technology behind the digital loonie. So remember, they're not developing actually blockchains. They'll probably build it off of Ethereum, just like Norway is doing. I don't remember if I had any notes from here to share with you, but I just wanted to say that the digital dollar is coming. Remember, we looked at a chart earlier this week that showed you 90 countries that are looking into central bank digital currencies. It's all savings for the governments and huge amount of control extra, just as a bonus gift. So we got to be careful about that type of thing, right? And so if you want to know about that one, I'll link the video up here. All right, you guys. So if Norway is building their digital dollar off of Ethereum, it would not surprise me at all that we would be building it off of some kind of smart contract type idea, either building it off of Ethereum or building it off of Ripple. That's what I think it would happen. What do you guys think? I'm curious to know what you think. Today is a massive day for Ethereum. It's the massive merge. So it's a massive project. We've been waiting for it for years. Let's see how that turns out as well. All right, you guys. So this is what I always want you to pay attention to. And don't listen to people's words. Watch what they do. We always look up Canada's money supply on Trading Economics. As you can see, they just keep on spending more and more every single month. We also know the United States continue to print more and more and more money in this vertical graph. It goes straight up for the money supply. Also, I want you to just pay attention to the articles. Fortunately, we have an internet. We can go back and look at the articles. Look at this one, BNN Bloomberg. But notice the date. This is in December of 2020 when our Chrystia Freeland, who is very high up in the Canadian government, they were looking at Canadians' savings accounts and they were frustrated. They called this preloaded stimulus. They said that there is a growing focus on our savings accounts as a source of potential fiscal stimulus just waiting to be unleashed. They were sitting, the bank accounts were sitting at 170 billion in Canada, and they wanted that money into the market. Wow. Okay, so guys, let's just rewind a little bit. Back then, Chrystia Freeland was desperate to get all of that money out of people's savings account, wanting you, please go spend it, spend it, spend it, spend it. Okay, what have we heard in the past 7-8 months? All we have heard is that inflation has gone bananas, okay? And so they wanted us to spend it. And then now, what are we hearing? We're hearing, number one, Jackson Hole, our Jerome Powell, he said, guys, it's entrenched. It's you guys that are the problem. You know, it's in your psyche. If you know that inflation will continue, you will go buy too much stuff. So it's in our mind. Number two, we just did an article yesterday where they said that it was the fault of employees asking their employers for more money for their salaries so that they could survive. And because of that, now they're going and spending too much money in the market, and it's that fault. So, you know, this is kind of a political game sometimes where they're dipping and dodging back and forth. Well, it's his fault. Well, it's his fault. Well, it's his fault. But they're the only one that can print the money, right? So, guys, we kind of got to put our big boy pants on, you know, and try to figure this out on our own, because it doesn't really matter what people say. It's really what they do. Remember, they were telling us to spend it and then telling us not to spend it. And then now it's our fault. You know, at the end of the day, they're the ones that are printing the money. The funny thing is we hear the government saying, we're going to be cracking down. We're going to be saving money. We're going to get this ship, you know, righted so it's not bouncing all over the place. Yet they're still spending money. And every single day you're watching them go everywhere and give away a lot of money to the tune of billions, right? Earlier, they're giving away 1.2 billion for building projects out west in native lands. And I saw yesterday, I think we did an article, 4-point-something billion as well. And this is in Canada, giving away all of this money for low income, for rent, GST rebates, dental plans. Also in the United States, the whole Inflation Act, you know, and forgiving everybody's college debts. So this sounds like I'm saying that everyone doesn't deserve it. I think everyone needs to have a good life, right? But this is the problem that we kind of run into as societies of the West, is we use a lot of money and we use the money to gain power. So when we're in election years, right, there is a lot of spending out there so that you really like them and you kind of vote them back in, right? So I know that there's families that are hurting. Everybody's hurting. I know that sometimes college debts might have been too high and that you really need dental. And I know that we all need that and we're struggling. So this isn't about one person. And it's not against anybody. It's just as a society, we are spending so much money. And listen, if I got a new credit card, a new Amex card, and it says $25,000 on it, and I go and I have a blast of a month. I mean, I'm partying every night. I'm eating lobster. Listen, it's fun. It really is fun. But it's going to run out. And then there's that day that the bill arrives in the mail and they're going to threaten to take your car and whatever else, right? So this is kind of how we've been living for a long time. We are just kicking the can down the road, but we're kind of coming up to a weird zone, right? Once we pass 130% debt to GDP, we are in big trouble. Big trouble. There's no country that's ever come back from that. And that is what I worry, where we're kind of at the end of the rope there. One of the reasons why I thought for sure that we would never be able to raise the rates this high was because way back in the day when, in the 80s, when we had this massive number of rate increases, when we had that, we were only sitting like 30% debt to GDP. What does that mean? That means like if I make $100,000 a year, I would have $30,000 in debt. That's somewhat manageable. You could get out of that one day. But imagine today where if you make $100,000 a year and you owe $130,000 in debt, and not a mortgage, I mean party debt, okay? Then it's a problem. And once you pass that 130%, then you don't recover from that. That is the problem that we're facing today, that we're right now near the end. We have so much debt. And through the health crisis, we doubled on the debt. And what the debt that we see is normally only federal debt. We don't even pay attention to provincial debt, or city debt, or all the corporate debt. And most of all, the big daddy, the huge one, unfunded liabilities, paying all the pensions out that we've promised, and paying our vets, and paying for healthcare, all the stuff that we promised everybody that if you pay for it your whole life, it'll be there at the end of the road. How sad is it if you've paid for it your whole life and you get to the end of your life when you need it and it's not there anymore? So this is where we kind of have to hold people accountable a little bit. Anyway, we're in this crazy zone. I never thought that we would ever get here, but here we are. And so we always have to play the odds one way or another, and we have to be safe. So for many, many years, since 2012, I've been trying to be buying some gold and some silver. I use this as an anchor for myself, and I don't put a lot into it. But, everybody, it depends who you follow, will say put 5%, 10%, 15%. We live in Canada, though. In Canada, we're the only G20 country that has zero gold. Zero. So if you went out and bought one silver coin for $35 Canadian, if you go buy one silver coin, you now have more metal than the entire country of Canada. It's kind of crazy to think about that, right? Only 1% of people have this. So I know that the majority of people are not even going to go buy one of them. And it's so easy. You could just walk into a store and go buy one. Or you can go order it online. They'll mail it to your house. So this is why I say this is real money. Now, I don't care about what the dollar figure is attached to it, because this is for my long-term anchor, right? Something like that gets you kind of off the system. You're not saving paper dollars. Bitcoin, Ethereum is amazing. And buying real estate. Real estate is going to be another anchor for you through good times and bad times. Real estate is something that everybody needs. You need a place to live. So we have a choice, live in a box or the back of your car, or you can live in a house as a rental or a purchase. And then you're always going to be paying off the mortgage to the other people, right? So we make a lot of money through real estate. How do you make money through real estate? We always make it through a bunch of ways, right? Cash flow, appreciation, depreciation. We make it through our loans, so amortization. And we'll make it off of principal pay down. So we have a lot of different ways. We have a lot of videos about that on YouTube. And then we can do our value adds where we make a lot of more money that way. So you guys just start thinking about this. Start thinking about money in a different way, because everybody views the almighty dollar as the king. It's not necessarily the king. In addition to this, we have to change the way we think about money, because this is just printed. If a government ever had problems for whatever reasons, this kind of just disappears. And understanding what inflation is going to be key for that. I can tell you that I talk to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, I know what inflation means. It means things get more expensive. Why? How does it get more expensive? Why does it devalue? What is the source of its value to begin with? What are dollars? And I got to tell you, you can do entire college courses and read 20 books on it, and you'll just be scratching the surface. Most people don't understand what the dollar is. So this is why I wish that in school we had entire curriculums into understanding what is money, how to make money, how to make a business, right? So I had to do it the hard way. I hope that you don't have to do it the hard way either. But if you build your financial life properly, you don't have to work anymore if you don't want to, right? And so it's about learning the game. So this is what I suggest. Read, read, read. Read a new book every day. I try to read 3 or 4 hours per day. I've been doing that for many, many years. So I think that everybody should do that and get their real education after. When I went to real estate school a million years ago, I had to do all of this book paperwork. Okay. I had to read all the books. But when I was reading the books, it was like in 1820, England arrived in Canada and they divided up the land, okay, 1820. What does that have to do with how I do my job, right? Once you finish all of the work, and some of the curriculum has changed since then, but once you finish it all, you're like, okay, what does that mean? Like, now I have to do my real work, and I have to figure out how the business operates, how to find clients, how to do contracts, everything. So your real work, your real education only started after your formal education. You kind of got to treat life that way. Once you finish university, maybe even uni, and you're done, then your real education starts. It's not over. I always thought by the time I hit 18, I'd stop learning. Okay. That's when it all started for me. And I've been on this nonstop learning. And every year I'm like, well, I got to be getting to the end, right? I'm 43. I'm still educating myself nonstop. And I'm like, at this rate, I'm not going to finish until I'm like 200. Okay. So you got to keep learning. And the faster that you can learn and implement, the faster it is going to be for you to break free of that matrix and be able to be financially free. That's that FIRE club, financial independence, retire early. That's what everybody wants, right? And that's what I want for you guys. Anyway, as you know, I'm always here for your health, wealth, and happiness. I want you guys to succeed. I want you to crush it. If you know anybody that this could help, please just send it to one person. I would really appreciate it. Please remember to like, subscribe, follow to this. We're really trying to grow the channel. I appreciate it. I'll catch you on the next video. Hey, Jeremy, how are you? On YouTube, Jeremy, hope that you're doing good. You guys, I'll answer your questions for you if you have any on TikTok just before I head out. Otis, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Mundy Pond Skeet. Mundy, you can buy, I have a company that I've been using for like 15 years, very, very long time. You can find them just on my beacons page up top. I'd appreciate it if you use my link. They pay me like $1 or $2, I think, if I use my link, but they send me an email, say thank you for your service. But if you want to use it, it's a company I've been using for 15 years. It is Kitco. But what they have is they have like a 1 ounce coin, but you said you want to buy bulk, so you can buy bulk bars. This is the one I would recommend. It's the Royal Canadian Mint Bar 100 ounce. 100 ounces gets you a much cheaper price because they call it manufacturing costs. It costs a lot to make 100 coins, but it doesn't cost them as much, I would say, to pour it directly into a mold. You might even be able to see some of the lines on here from the, right here from the mold pour. See, they're like circular lines. Oh yeah, you can see it really good right there. See those lines? That's from pouring molten metal into it. So this is what you could look into. Cecil, you said you're smart. No, I'm not smart. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. This is something that kind of came to me, as I kept on getting older. I always got one more book, and I realized that, man, there's no end to this, right? So I think that was in a song too once. The more you know, the less you know, or something like that. The more I learn, the less I know. That's what it is. The more I learn, the less I know. Crazy, right? Kind of blows my mind thinking about it. Cecil Martin, you said, thank you. I do buy silver. Nice. Good. Cecil, Yeah, you can't affect spot price. You just have to get a low manufacturing cost, a low premium. You got to do some shopping around. Here's the danger is you got to use big companies that you trust that have been around a long time. The problem is a real one like this is 2,500 in Canada. The problem is you could buy this in a fake for $25 on AliExpress. And I mean the fake is good. I've seen some of the fakes. They look identical. So imagine the business model for some schmuck who's going over there and buying them for 25 bucks and he's selling it to people all over for 25. So I heard this terrible story. This older lady had been buying from the same store for like 20 years. She was going to retire and she brought all of her metal in to cash it in to be able to pay for her old folks home. And the guy had said, "I'm really sorry. All of this is fake. All of it." Can you imagine investing your entire life never knowing that it was all fake and then expecting $500,000 and then it's all gone? So you need to be buying from a reputable person, like reputable seller, number one. And then you should also, if depends how much you have, think about getting a good tester. There is a multitude of at-home testers, like the ping test for silver. That's really fun. But when it comes to these, there are other testers, but they're about $1,500 to buy one. Yeah, hey guys, if you have any questions on YouTube before I jump off, you can let me know. We're just talking about how to buy gold and silver. If you want to know either on YouTube or TikTok, you guys can go right into the links above, and I have the companies that I use. Any other questions? I mean, the markets is going bananas, you guys. So this is what's happening right now. Yesterday, the CPI numbers came out. I think it was yesterday, right? Yesterday, the CPI numbers came out. They were abysmal, really bad, which means the US next week is going to be raising their interest rates, which means in 6 weeks, Canada is going to be raising their interest rates. What does that mean? For every 1% the interest rate goes up, home prices drop 10%. A bad whammo. That really hurts. So I always tell you, if you have a good house in a stable market, you want to be keeping it. If you are in a very highly leveraged market, in a big home, it's something that you might not want to be in, right? That's the thing that loses the most money in this type of environment. If you're in a smaller home in the middle of a city, then it's okay, like a small condo, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, something like that. You can hang on to that because it's the most likely category to rebound. That's cool, right? Addy Koopa, you're asking a question. How do you price the right number when renting a property? You got to use a lot of comparables. A lot of comparables. That's how you find out how much it will rent for. But if you have a unique property, then you got to get a lot of people in the door. So how do we get a lot of people in the door for a rental? That's where you have to buy advertising. Usually you need to be putting advertising out on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Like you got to pump it out there to get a lot of people in the door to be able to come and look and assess the price. The crazy chicken part is like, just think about this. It bends your brain. You as a landlord don't set the price of your rental. It is the public that will do that. Because you could go ask $10,000 a month for 1 bedroom and everyone will laugh in your face and it'll never rent, right? But if you put it up on the market for $1, of course it would rent. So it's them that decide. It's not me. It's not you. You know what I mean? So this is why we got to get a lot of people in the door. And it's the general consensus of the area that will tell you what the rental price is. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for coming by. Thank you for keeping me company. I hope that you learned a little something tonight. Anything from you, Jeremy, that I can help you with? No? Kevin Thompson, live. How are you, buddy? Thanks so much for coming on. I was just about to leave, but if you have any questions, we were talking about core inflation, and we were talking about gold and silver, and we were talking about selling homes and renting homes. Grungus. You cost me my house. My wife left me. Let's hope that's not true. Um, all right, you guys. Well, thank you very much for coming by. I hope that you had a good day. It is a crazy week. The amount of news coming out these days is you cannot even keep up with it. There's so much of it. So I really hope that you guys are trying to assimilate it. Try to turn out a lot of the noise when it comes to the problem of remembering what people are saying and what they are doing. This is where you got to treat the governments and all the news that you get and Facebook and all this other stuff. You got to treat it just like you would treat a friend of yours. If a friend of yours said, "Yeah, I'm going to be there at restaurant tonight," and doesn't show up, and then he calls you again and says, "Oh yeah, I'll be there," and he doesn't show up, and then he says, "I'm going to be there," and he doesn't show up, right? As many times as he says he's going to be there, you can't just keep believing him because you have to trust the action that he never showed up. And most people understand that really easily when it comes to friends, right? So you got to kind of be that way on every part of the information spectrum. So you got to diversify where you get your information from. You got to be listening to all kinds of different people on the right side of the aisle, the left side of the aisle, this side of the ocean, that side of the ocean, inward and outward type of information. You got to look at it all and try to find the truth in it for yourself. That's what I think you guys got to do. When is next interest date? I think it's about 7 weeks from now in Canada. The US is next week, and Canada is normally 6 weeks after. About. I don't remember off the top of my head the date. When was Canada's last one? Canada's last one was like September 6th or 7th. Yeah, most likely 0.75 or 1, most likely. We just saw yesterday, I think it was yesterday. Yesterday was the CPI numbers. It was really bad in the United States, which means that they will probably give a 0.75 coming up, this one, which means Canada will reciprocate, most likely. My guess is 0.75. We'll see. I was right on the last one. There was people claiming 0, 0.25. I heard a 1.25, but my guess would be 0.75. Let's see. Not really sure. But here's the thing is, if we're going to raise it that much, 0.75 or 1, it's actually like, this is mega damage territory. Every 1% that you raise it, we're in big trouble. So one of our clients, I was just talking to them, their payment is up $2,200 per month on their home. I'm not talking about their overall payment. I'm talking about the raise in payment. Just the difference from earlier this year. That's enough to bankrupt people. It's crazy. This is going to hurt a lot of people. And this is like what we're into right now has never happened before. This is the fastest raise in rates that we've ever seen in history. And coupling that, we also have this massive supply crunch, massive food issues, and the largest debt that anyone has ever seen in Canada, the largest debt that the world has ever seen in the US. So whenever I see people that are on Instagram or TikTok and they're like, "Oh, this is going to be a good month to buy," I don't understand it, but I can only tell you what I think based on what I read, but I want to know what you guys think too. You let me know. All right, you guys, thanks very much for coming on tonight. I got to get going. I hope you have a good night. All the best. Keep strong. You put on hold on buying a rental property. I don't know where you were thinking of buying. But that might be a smart move. Remember, I'm not an oracle. I don't have a crystal ball. But if I was going to be buying a rental property, and I wasn't buying it like in Memphis right now, I probably wouldn't be doing it. Cool Acadian. Hey, I recognize your name. You said people should watch a series on YouTube by Mike Maloney called The Hidden Secret of Money. I don't think I've seen that one. I'll try to look it up. Montreal services, you're thinking about Florida 2023. Most of Florida is priced like completely, it's out of whack these days. I haven't seen a Florida number that has made sense in a while. Northern Florida, like up in Jacksonville and the Panhandle, I have seen some things, but I still think right now my favorite place would be in Tennessee. All All right, you guys, I wish you the very best. Have a great night. Thanks for everything. I'm going to check out that YouTube video on Mike Maloney. Please think about following me over on YouTube. If you ever want. I'm also on TikTok. There's a lot more questions that are on there, but you know, I'm monitoring both if you guys have anything as well. All right, you guys have a great night. Thanks very much. Keep on crushing it.